being aware of what you don't know is the only way out of a big trap. Winning a lot of battles and feeling like you've got a solid handle on how the game works is great, and that gets you out of the beginner stage and into the intermediate stage. Starting to become aware of when you can influence something and when you can't. Who is it? Stanley Jordan. I saw an interview with Stanley Jordan. He's a jazz guitarist, and I don't expect anyone to know him. Unfortunately, he's a brilliant guitar player, but unfortunately, most people and players and even jazz aficionados don't necessarily know him because he's a very different style. And he has this thought process, and I'm probably going to screw it up. I'm going to paraphrase it, but there's a point in playing guitar where you feel like you're getting good enough, so you're aware of the instrument and you're aware of how you're playing. You're not aware of how well you're playing it, if that makes sense. And then you get to an intermediate stage where you start to realize, oh my God, I really suck at playing that particular part. You know, triads or open chords or whatever. I don't want to confuse the point. You reach a point where you start to realize that how bad you played to begin with and how much progress you've made. And then your ego starts to say, well, okay, now I'm good at it. And then you see another guitarist play something incredible and you try to reproduce it and you realize, how do I get better at that? It's this struggle of you've got two pillars going up and down and up and down and up and down, where you've got what you think you hear versus what is actually being produced. That is probably the key here that I want to get to. And I know that I did a really horrible job at presenting that, but anyway, getting back to warships. Okay, the discussion is about destroyer play. Now, if you can see that mini map, I know it's kind of blocked right now, but yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see the mini map, and you'll see that two of the caps are being flipped. The reason why I was in alpha was because there was no one that could challenge me there. And we had spotting on the center. Now you see these two ships above the center, above the B cap, just north of it. So we know that they should have firing solutions either soon or whatever. There are ships there that can fire on what I'm spotting. So I'm going to continue to spot. You see, I continue to spot all through that alpha cap. If we just go, I'm just going to mute this because we don't need to hear the gunfire. And then I'm going to play it. Okay, now you see where my decision process, I have a decision tree that I'm thinking about. Do I dive the cap? Don't I dive the cap? And watch closely, watch the Charlie cap closely. I'm still continuing to spot. You see, I haven't made a decision to turn in yet. I'm still not making the decision to turn in. I'm deciding to turn out. I've made the decision to turn out, but do you see how the cap turned slightly red? That was my indication that there was no one to contest me at alpha. So I moved in. That's one decision. The second decision here is to keep those ships in Bravo spotted, or the ships entering Bravo spotted, while I move in. Now, Mackinson has a chance, the ship on the 2 line, you see that at D2, that's moving through D2. He has a chance he has a firing solution on that Bayern out there. on the G1 line. And instead, he decides to move behind a rock. So he has no firing solutions. And you'll watch that the ships at B, above B, are where they're waiting. They're lying in wait, and that's okay. And I see Mackinson is also turning out so she can get firing angles on Bayern, I believe. And I decided to go to guns for a couple of reasons. One is you'll watch, if you see her turrets, they're not even pointing at me. Dunkirk turrets are not pointing towards me. And she's far enough out where her secondaries, as nominal as they are really won't have any impact on me. What I'm more concerned about are the ships below her. Here, let me press play and you'll see how that works out. There are ships coming in back of her, and there are ships in front of her. Neither of those have visibility on me, and Bayern is probably distracted with Mackinson. That would be my assumption. Now that I've got Alpha Cap, and it's green, I need to engage with the ships that are coming in, because they're sailing in willy-nilly. That's fine. This is not abnormal. But having players that are aware when they're pushing into dangerous territory is something that is a more advanced trick or advanced tip. And you see what that destroyer did is it tried to move into or towards Bravo, because she sees the push there. But because of what's happening at Bravo, unfortunately, no one, the ships that they need to get out, the red team needs to get out, really aren't available to them. So there's some relative safety here. And I plan on trying to take advantage of it. And here's where I shot these torps and it just it didn't really pay out. I mean, how could I miss, right? How could I miss? How could I miss? Well, yeah, this is an example of how I actually really suck at playing Destroyer. But this is spotting. This is how spotting works. I'm spotting the ships in the center, while these ships can remain relatively well covered and still affect the outcome. I don't know what that means to you generally, but I can tell you that you can affect the outcome of a battle just by doing this. Without even necessarily firing a single round, you can affect the outcome of a battle. Although you need to engage. You will need to engage, even in a ship where everyone is telling you, "Oh, those guns suck." Well, yeah, they may suck on a one-on-one encounter, but they're useful. They're very useful. You can use them for anything from. Let's use a specific example. The Omaha directly in front of me. I can pen that and smack its citadel with the AP on a destroyer at tier 5, and the guns don't necessarily suck, but they give me options. They still give me options. Otherwise, you wouldn't have two choices of HE and AP. They're situational. Learning that difference is again a more advanced, intermediate and above. Okay, let's get back to this and see that plays out. Watch me miss all these torps. I can't even imagine how. But I did it. I lost them all. Those torps look great. But again, without seeing it dimensionally, I can't really tell exactly. And of course, I missed it. So I go back to something I can actually affect. Start some fires on her nose. No, that was the idea. I did manage to land one, and thankfully it was on the right ship. The one ship that was running me down. I'm trying to chuck torps at the battleship because I feel that's the way we can affect it most. And I shouldn't have too much of a problem getting this out, and thankfully, I had at least a few seconds left in my smoke. Now that Dunkirk is aware of me, I can duck back into my smoke because I have a couple of seconds and I'm outside of standard detection range for the ship. So as long as I don't fire, she's just going to try to run away from me. That's the cat herding in action. I feel that I really should have tried to re-engage this target, the Dunkirk. Unfortunately, the guns, the turrets on this particular ship move way too slow. Now, my thought is that that sword is going to move back into Bravo. That's my guess. But I think she's going to lean towards Charlie instead and get herself wrecked. Now there's Bayard. Bayard's already down because Mackinson is applying a lot of pressure to her. Now, do you see how it's closing in? We're closing in from the sides into the center. All of that was possible because of the spotting that I was providing early. Hopefully that makes sense. But that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, let's move a little further into this. This is the next battle. I think we just we do whatever we do there. It's a victory. We didn't do exceptionally well, but we did well enough where we could call that a victory, and also we were able to help our teammates. Okay, so this is the second battle. And in this second battle, I want you to see what happens here. There are a lot of bots in this particular battle, so there's what half of the team is are bots. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So almost half. 6. I'm sorry, there's half. And that's a pretty standard layout, the way that they generally try to set it up if you're doing bot battles. Okay, let's just go into that. Okay, now I'm cutting into this quite a bit. Do you see where I'm setting myself up? Now, I do expect to get spotted. I'm not completely broadside, so I can decide to turn. My plan was to torp prior to them getting to spot me, but bots are as bots are. They're not really going to think about the ramifications, and they're not going to try to be tricky or turn to angle themselves better. It's just the way it is. I'm not going to overthink that part. Now, I should have just gone to guns first before chucking torps, but I had a pretty good idea that I would just be able to spot her, continue to spot her. I'm not even bothering to firing on it again because that was a foregone conclusion. It's just a bot. I'm not too worried. The players, however, are a different situation. Now look behind me. Do you see this cruiser directly behind me? That cruiser is moving directly into a line of fire where it will not allow us to take this Charlie cap. So I've got a couple of choices here. And maybe they're dumb choices, but maybe they're real world applicable choices. I can continue to fire, try purposely to get detected so that I can draw fire away from them as long as I'm outside the cap. they have a chance of getting that cap. It's a possibility. I'm not saying this is the way it's going to play out. However, that's the thought process I'm working on. So let's go in. Let's keep going. That ship is going to keep getting reset. And now that there's someone to contest the cap, they should be focusing this ship, and they are, which is exactly what we needed. We'll watch it move, but it's a bot. It's not really going to have any significant impact on the game other than deterring people from taking caps. And you'll see that bot just kept moving forward. Now, a situational thing is that if I felt that I could alter the outcome of that match, if there were a real player in that ship, I probably would have attempted to smoke it. What I mean by smoking it is encapsulating it in my smoke dispersion pattern. And you can do that by sitting close enough to the ship where the radius of the smoke circle will encompass at least enough of the ship that's from the center of the ship back or from the center of ship forward. Either one of those. You want to basically aim your smoke puff so that you'll get the ring around the center of the ship. As long as they're not moving forward too fast or backward, backward doesn't matter, because as long as they're not escaping backward into or out of the smoke, you just draw a line where the smoke is going to be, and as long as no one can be detected on the other side of the smoke, because you can sit 10 kilometers in back of the smoke, as long as no enemy ships can see around that smoke cloud, then you've got them covered until they fire their guns. If it's a battleship, their gun bloom, which you'll see as an illustration of a circle around your ship, that'll change its dimensions. Well, this is a new thing, so, but it'll change. You'll see it, the circle creep out and then creep back in based on when they fire their gun. The second you fire, that triggers a gun bloom. So it blooms out to the farthest that it can reach, which is, under normal circumstances, your gun range, that ship's gun range. If that gun range exceeds the normal detection, they'll still be spotted, but for only 20 seconds, and then it'll drop to its normal detection. I hope that makes sense, because I'm not using any illustrations, so this is going to sound a lot talky and a little less understandable. So hopefully that's clear enough. I mean, to be honest, the intended audience is an intermediate to advanced destroyer player, and so you should basically have a basic idea of what I'm talking about. Let's carry on. Let's kill the bot. We kill the bot. We kill the bot with help. It's important. Now that cap is clear to be capped. So I'm going to hit my turbo and start headed back out of my smoke so I can spot. And this is important. Sitting in smoke clouds are what? Torpedo magnets. Yes, but they also blind you and your team from seeing any possible targets. Now, I'm trying to remain guns dark for a moment, but I see that Agincourt is in the cap. So my only goal here, my only possible goal here, is to draw fire from her, because it's much more likely that they're going to miss me than they're going to miss this huge Agincourt. I'm going to switch to AP here. You'll notice my ammunition choice has changed. You should see that in a second once, well, maybe not. Whatever, you see this, I've switched to AP. Now I know that pretty much any ship, any destroyer is pretty much going to be able to pen the side of this ship. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to aim for the center, which is pretty obvious, I would imagine. Since I missed those torps, now I need to hit and take that ship out. Because that is a player ship, and I am more concerned with players than bots. And what do we have creeping around out there? Yes, another destroyer. Okay, so we're going to try to get some guns on her. And that's just not your average destroyer, that's a kamikaze. So, primer for those that don't have kamikaze, she's going to be able to shoot 3 racks about every minute. 3 racks, and they're going to be 2 torpedo racks. Each rack of 2 can be shot about every minute. It's a little, it's around there, but it depends on a couple of factors. One of which is what mods they have, or what captain skills they have. So that's pretty much it. Actually, the mods won't actually change. I don't think they change the actual torpedo reload time, but they can change things like the speed, etc. Anyway, getting back into this, let's see what these torpedoes were headed towards me. I headed out and then pushed my back around the opposite direction and chucked a set of torps just in case. Now this is a good destroyer player in an exceptional ship. So we're going to have a little bit of problem. And the Eggencourt is an exceptional ship as well. However, I think he doesn't intend to be receiving that much damage. Anyway, getting back to the destroyer focus. Do you see what I'm using this rock? This is on my starboard side, my right side. Do you see where the destroyer is heading? Even if that destroyer turns around right away and comes back in here, he's not going to be able to spot me in smoke. And if he decides to turn the other way to his left, to his port, and get back into cap, he's not going to have any torp angles on me. And as long as I'm moving back and forth in smoke, realistically, I'm going to have a significantly better chance. I don't mind sitting in smoke as long as I know that I'm not becoming a torp pinata. And that's what kamikaze can do to you. So anyway, let's get back to just dacking. I'm trying purposely to set fires on 4 separate fires. There's one in the center, now in the rear, now on the nose. And I'll probably switch back to the rear. There's a fire on the nose. There's one more spot at the superstructure that I can get. Let's start a fire. I don't. Right, you see how those kamikaze torps were predictable. We knew they were coming, but that also gives us an indication of where that kamikaze is. Those firing lines can only be fired from approximately your same or last known position. That 2-dimensional red Dorito is what I'm shooting for. I'm trying to actually bait her to use her guns. I'm pretty sure that never happens, but it was an idea. And it's something that I do often enough to realize that I'm doing it. You don't want to use your guns to get into problems. Yeah, you see what Eggencourt did? DCP'd, but more importantly, now I can get into a position where I'm two things. I'm protected against the kamikaze, so I will not catch torps from that angle, not within several minutes. I am catching a little bit of secondary fire, but Eggencourt secondaries are something to definitely respect. However, I know she's headed away. So again, going back to the fire starting premise. Now Omaha is coming in, and there's a kamikaze. Now she has torp opportunities, but you see what I'm doing? I position myself specifically so I would have a very limited window of exposure. Baited her to shooting her torps, so now I know I'm going to be safe, but that was only 2 racks. This is a situational awareness thing. There are 2 racks that were shot, and Omaha is coming back in. I suspect that Kamikaze is going to float back in there too. I don't mind being spotted right at this moment because I know that I just got that Kamikaze. And now I'm back to AP, causing a lot of havoc. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep myself from pushing too far outside this rock. And I know you can't see it from here because everything's being blocked, but you see this red? I suspect that this Agincourt is going to keep pushing through here out into the open or pushing towards Alpha. You see, Alpha has not been contested. So this other Agincourt, I'm relatively positive, is not interested in Alpha. That's what I'm thinking. Here's the problem. If this Agincourt, all the way on the J line, can push into an angle where I have no visual detection based on this island position, then it can keep going and get really close to me. Danger close. As I have an escape route, my escape route is only this way. I could make a hard port, but then I'd be pushing into this other battleship. So my decision-making process is, at this point, we have 2 ships left versus their 4. There are very few conditions that would lead to a victory at this point. We have 11 more points than them. They do not control either cap, but they've done the decimation. So my assumption is that someone's going to try to get to me here. The further I can push towards into the center of Bravo, the better off I'm going to be. And the only way I can do that is by getting this ship out. So this is what we're focused on at the moment. And again, plans only last as long as the first encounter. Keep AAing or APing it. Even if you only get 1 shell, that can still make a difference. I don't mind getting spotted, but you see where I'm positioning? I'm trying to position myself so I can get back in. And what do you see in back of me? Those are secondaries. See, this Agincourt popped up. Instead of going into this cap, he turned to get me in a firing line. And that firing solution means that I can't even see where those shells are coming from. I can see the ship, but I can't, I don't have arcs to get through, to return fire. This is going to be a little sketchy. I think I set it up okay because I believe that there are going to be some torps headed my way. You see, and there are. However, just slow enough. I didn't run it slow enough, but I needed to make enough of an angle so I could get in between and thread those torps, but it is what it is. Now that only leaves 1 ship, the other Agincourt. I don't know. All bets are off, but I'm thinking that there could have been a better way. Okay, let's see how that plays out. I mean, I guess we don't really need to see how that plays out. We know how that's going to play out. There you go. Here, thanks, Cap. And defeat, which is nothing horrible. And we were on top. Let's go to match 3. And again, the same technique holds true. Now, I'm a little bit further out than I need to be. Goromashki's torp range is 8. What I'm hoping is that one of those ships, I'm thinking the Boise might, but the Dunkirk can easily hit those torps from where where that ship's at. Now, I know that there's at least one destroyer heading into Alpha, and I suspect that the other destroyer is coming up this side or from anywhere in this gap. You'll see where our RPF is located. That covers this zone. You see this conical shape? That's where our RPF is indicating. You can do this without RPF, especially at tier 5. You're gonna have to do this without RPF 90% of the time, unless you're doing a premium ship, and then you can train commanders in it. Okay, now I'm undetected, but you'll see what happens, how it plays out in just a moment. My plan is to hold fire. Even though I'm trying to position myself, now I see Gokase moving into cap. I need to engage these ships so that cruiser can survive. I'm not saying I want to sacrifice my ship, but you see where Gokase moved? That means that I can safely fire from smoke and retain some level of spotting. Unfortunately, I think it was a day late, dollar short. I mean, I've looked at this replay at least a couple times, so I mean, it is what it is. We're trying to engage and stay in the cap, because as long as both of these ships are going to get shot at, if we can do 3, we can reduce the amount of time it takes to capture. Unfortunately, as we'll see in a second, we're gonna just keep getting reset. I don't think that was ever optional, so we'll keep up firing. We'll keep our firing. We're gonna try to stay in the cap, and hopefully, what I'm hoping for here are 2 things. One is to keep the damage going. Keep the damage going. I don't mind being spotted here again, because if I'm spotted, I'm way faster than either one of those other ships. But I got a little gun greedy, so I didn't drop off detection as I intended to. And they're outside of torp range. So I have to let these ships cap or get the red ships, to change their firing positions. So now I'm outside of the cap, and I can receive fire, and I can do a little sketchy border humping here, and that's fine. If that's going to keep your friendly ships alive, do it. Do it every time. And yeah, both of them are dead. Why? Why are both of those ships dead? Both of those ships are dead because they didn't let the destroyer do its job. Because they're not used to having a destroyer that is intentionally doing the job. And this is a less experienced player will become aware of this. Anyway, let's get back to it. right now we have no one. I am the furthest ahead. Well, maybe with the exception of this. Yeah, Indrak. Yeah, well, whatever that, that Dutch thing that I can't pronounce, whatever. The unpronounceable. We'll call it the unpronounceable. Big E. We'll call him Big E. You see, if we were to draw a line across this F, and conveniently that's where that's where this is showing. Anyway, we draw a line across this F, and that's a big F. Everyone that's left, or those ships, after these ships go down, they were the furthest ahead. The enemy team has pushed up into this F area. You see that red ship? They've intruded on our zone. However, we have 2 ships ahead of that. Pretty much everyone else is back here behind the F. Their ships, if we were to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see the difference in positioning? We follow that line across and we counted the amount of ships that were behind that line versus those that are in front of that line. You'll see who's going to win. You can tell who's going to win by the immediate tactics right now. So, well, let's go back into it. Let's see what happens from here. Okay, now I think that I'm going to try to go dark here because I have no serious issues with detection. There's no one close enough to see me, period. I've got several kilometers of wiggle room. I am unconcerned. However, what you can't see is you can't see that the ships in back of me are gone. Everyone is moving to the 5 line and beyond, which is, under most conditions, that's fine. That's fine if the play requires it. If you're overwhelmed on a flank, yes, absolutely. Here's the problem. They have both sides of this island covered, all the way out to the edge of the board. I can no longer support this flank, and if everyone left, which is where I'm heading, is back towards the center of the map, all of our problems are not going to go away just because we can't see them. Let's see how it plays out. Capping, good. Ticking, green, good. We're about to have 2 caps, and they have 2 caps. I will only point out again the position of the ships and where they're moving. If you're watching your mini-map, which you should always be doing, all of the support ships that I would have for half of the map, all of them have moved into a couple of grid squares, and that will only exacerbate as time goes on. These ships are not going to be able to change their course immediately. Let's go back to it. We have 2 green caps. This is good. Think about everything you see in 45 degrees, like slice a pizza and take 2 slices of that pie. If it's cut properly, you don't need to be exact. But do you see what's happening? They have a full conical 45 degree vision range. The ships behind the edge of that other island at the 5 line have a 45 degree and a conical view, that quarter of a pizza pie, they have a quarter of a pizza pie facing towards me. And the other ships on the other side, the west flank, also have that quarter of a pizza pie. Here's the thing. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ships versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ships. In theory, from anyone else's perspective, if we're just looking at a 7-point differential, this is an evenly matched layout. And under normal circumstances, if we had a normal deployment of ships and ships were keeping to their flanks, this would be a coin flip. We just have to basically outplay the other team. I want to point out that the other team has already outplayed our team. It's just that these ships don't know that. If you split the map into quarters, again like a pizza, but a square pizza. How about that? A Sicilian. We'll split it into 4 pieces. There are 2 things that are of note. Half of the pie is theirs. Half. With the exception of one ship, myself, every one of our ships, the green ships, are in 1/4 of that pie. No one has pushed past that half pie area. No one. And if you look at the chat here, we've got a lot of talking about doing something, but it's not happening. All of the important ships have 0 firing angles and 0 visibility. They can't see anything. They have a thin slice where they can see about 4 to 5 degrees to encompass 2 ships. Why? Because I'm back there spotting them. That's the only chance. Those are the only ships they have firing arcs on. Let's see how that plays out. Now we're losing this cap, so our point differential is going to start increasing. I'm going to just stop it there. 2 things are happening here. Well, there are a lot of things that are happening here, but 2 things of note. 1, I'm calling for them to move in, because right now we have 8 ships versus 1, 2, 3. Can you do the math on that? I can. It's more than 2 to 1. More than 2 to 1 odds. This Fubuki hasn't spotted anything, can't spot anything. Not that the Fubuki is a bad player. I'm not calling the Fubuki a bad player. Nor is he stupid or an idiot. Be aware. This is something you learn with time. Your situational awareness of what's going on, as many times as you want to call it out, some players are just not going to see it. Now we've moved to this much of the map. They effectively control 2/3 of the map now. If we're going to slice it, let's say there are, let's make it 6 slices. A 3-line, 9-line, 3-line, 8-line, whatever. Pretty much everything is in this 1/6 of the entire map. That's not a good recipe. I call for the move in because I know that that side is completely outnumbered. And this flank is about to push around, which we can't see yet. I see it in my head, and I know that they're going to go for the next available green cap, period. That's just what they're going to do. And the only way they can do that is how? By pushing these guys around, cat herding. They're going to push them around this side because they waited too long to engage Alpha Cap, this particular cap. Anyway, I can't see it. Let's watch how this plays out. I'm firing to try to draw them and to reset them, more importantly. We need to keep resetting the caps in order to keep them at least from gaining points from them. I'm going to take a lot of heat for this. I'm trying to get out of my smoke cloud and get back into a position where I can spot. But I see that they've already pushed through the center. You see this? They can get this cap without being reset because no one here is engaging. Now they popped into 1/8. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 4 grid squares. That's tactically a bad idea. But you see what's happening? We're up on ships. We've killed 2 more of their ships than they've killed of ours. Under any other circumstance, this would be a winning scenario, and we would be encouraged by thinking so. Perfectly legitimate thought process. However, if we're losing one cap without capping the next one, there's no balance, so we will start losing that advantage. Let's see if this is a seminal point in the battle or whether it's just something else to note. I am still undetected, and I'm trying to purposely remain undetected because I have no support right now. There's one reset. Now that wasn't even a reset. It was I think it was the Boise who took it.
Concentrate fire on the enemy warship.
Nah, it wasn't well, maybe it was a Boise, I don't know. Could be. Okay. Let's see what's happening here. Now they're engaging this side of the map. They're starting to push forward. You see, they were at the IJ border, and now they're at the H line and pushing towards the enemy. However, think about this like a clock face and see, this is 12 o'clock, this is 3 o'clock, this is 6 o'clock. Right now, the amount of ships it can control from 9 o'clock all the way around to 3 o'clock are 1 for the greens and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the reds. They may be 1 ship short, but they have 75% of the map engaged. That's 75% of the map. Let's see what happens from here. We're starting to push over this F line into the E. But this Friedrich is, I don't think it's an easy kill, but the Friedrich is not an easy ship to kill. 1, 2, 3. It's not going to go down immediately. But with 0 spotting, if you can't see it, you can't hit it, period. Let's see how that plays out. Now, I think what everyone is trying to do is focus the center again to try to reset them. But as you'll note, one thing I did say, I'm gonna say it and focus on it again. If you want to be a BTC, I'm not even sure what that means. I think what he's trying to imply is that whoever wants to be a target, I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But whatever it is, I think the tone is that Derflinger has been trying to push this cap. I don't know why he didn't feel the support, but he failed to do it probably because he couldn't see what was around the corner. And on a 1v1 with 7 ships behind you, that's a chance you want to take, because you know that that half of them have firing angles. Let's move ahead just a little bit. I say move in, and my next comment is I can't defend 2 alone. He's calling for us, someone, to guard this cap. I told him that I can't defend 2 alone, and that's what I was trying to do. Call that a problem on my part. I don't know how else to put it. But now, instead of controlling 75% of the map, they now control almost 90, probably about 87, whatever. We'll continue on. Hey, Wheels, what's up? Okay. Now, let's just do another quick recap. From the E line out to about the 4. From the E to the 4 to the H, and I give that a tenuous H. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 grid squares out of the entire map. That is, well, 87.5 if you want to be accurate about it. But they control 87, almost 90% of the map. And now they're calling for push. That's what's happening. And we're losing the only cap that we had securely green. The last cap, securely green. I'm going to try to re-engage them, but I really don't. I know that this doesn't play out very well, but we need to be aware of what's going on around us too. And I think that that's a more advanced thought process than I think we're hearing about. So, thus prompting the discussion. Because I really do believe, regardless of what I'm saying here or how tonally that sounds, I really do believe that 90% of the players playing this game today have a decent idea or a decent comprehension of what is working and what isn't working for them. They, however, that 90% can't control 100% of the outcomes. It's just not going to happen. There's another little hitch in that statistic. 90% of the players may understand what's happening, but only about 30% of the players can actually change the direction of what's going on. And this is what we're seeing here. I'm trying to, maybe Derflinger, because he's leading edge, as you can see here. Maybe the Undrock, although the Undrock hasn't moved really at all almost this entire game. And to be fair to him, that's kind of how the ship is played. So Fubuki, however, is trying to influence the outcome here at the biggest problem area, when the easiest encounter he could have taken was here. And that was never going to play out well for him. You can't sail into 5 ships to after avoiding sailing into 2. That's numerically, that's never going to work out for you. This doesn't mean that any of these, I'm not harping on any of these players. I'm just trying to point out a common thing. Once we do this, we'll start actually playing. Sorry, bud.
The enemy is about to win.
Yeah, they've been about to win pretty much the entire map. Or the entire battle. Okay, now we've regained... Okay, we've regained 1 cap. Everyone, not everyone, but almost all the players on our team contributed to that recap. A lot of them did. We have 1, 2, 3 outside. This, and this. Indrak, Fubuki, and Omaha. All of these ships can contribute to keeping that cap reset, or could have, but that never happened. So now they have to resort to hit and run. That's the only way they can control, or to try to control, the outcome. Here's the thing. Omaha, Indrak, they're not sturdy ships. Fubuki has really low detect and can put out a massive quantity of torps. But it's not going to be able to face all of these ships. It's not going to be able to face 1, 2, 3, with 2 coming in. That's a total of 5 that have immediate firing arcs on this position, or will shortly on Indrak, but can fire on most of our ships. You see their firing angles? That's a 45. These ships out here have a 45. This ship out here, whether he thinks he's influencing or not, still has a firing arc, could have reset, and may have tried. I don't know if I noticed. Now, 3 caps against 1. And 3 caps this team can never get back. Not in the time allotted. All right, let's go back to it. Now, you'll also notice, I will note that how the points change, how the points have kind of flipped from being almost dead even to 170, 160. You follow the difference? 170 points difference. This is why there's 170 points difference. This thing alone. The caps do contribute, but you can visibly see what's happening. Anyway, let's go back to it. I don't want to harp on that. I'm in very dangerous waters now. I'm trying to maintain some kind of control on this bloody mayhem. And it is bloody mayhem. You needed help 10 minutes ago. Anyway. Now, just to be clear, because these players are asking for support now, doesn't mean that you can even possibly control that. They are dead. They just don't know it yet. Now, just see the nose, where this nose is pointing here, these noses. You can see them start to turn. As these ships are asking for support, what needs to happen is these ships need to continue on to get more caps and just let the merry-go-round take place. Instead, they're resisting that and filing into a 4. This will be a 4 grid square battle. That is 92%, 92.75, whatever. There you go. Let's see what happens from there. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to re-engage those ships that are coming out so that Eindrak and Fubuki had a chance to move out of there. And you see where Eindrak is moving, only moving closer to the problem. That doesn't mean he's misplaying it. However, he's been extremely passive and really hasn't moved beyond this single grid square in the entirety of the battle. It doesn't mean he's misplaying it. Eindrak is kind of intentionally built to do that. And he's exploiting that. It's fine. As long as he's creating more damage than he's taking. That's really the goal. However, here, there's no situation where he gets out of that. There's no situation where this team gets out of it. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to draw their attention towards me. And what my thought process is that sacrificing one ship to save 5 may be worth it. It's a gamble, but there's no change in the outcome. They're 300 plus points ahead now.
Smoke screen set. Engine boost activated.
And because I've lost detection on everything, I don't know if there's a situation. I got really gun greedy right here. I should not have fired that last set of guns. I'm gonna tag someone, but now I need to start boot scooting. And that was my last smoke. Either angling in or out of the direct line of fire does help your odds. And I've got to keep firing to try to draw them out. Now I can still go dark, and I think I do right here. But watch my battle timer, my detection timer. Watch how it goes off. Okay, Eindrak is helping. Nah, it doesn't. Yeah, no more than that. Yeah, this detected me. There was nothing I could change at that point. Okay, so let's just go back and see one last comment. Just to be clear, just to see where this was going. This last comment by the Eindrak says, "What the fuck was that?" Pardon me for not G-rating this, but I'm not planning on G-rating anything. What the fuck? BBs? Now, I don't think that he's absolutely accurate there. I don't think that really the battleships were necessarily the cause of that problem. The battleships can only move into positions where they have spotting unless they want to die. And that's kind of what we saw there. They defended their health above the wind. And please be aware, this is not me dissing any one of those players. I'm trying to highlight what the tactical decision making was that led to this defeat. Okay? This is not a bash on anyone. This is hopefully shining a light, maybe in a dark corner that we don't look into, but is something that all players should be thinking about. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break here, probably a 2 to 3 minute break, and then we'll go back to it. I may just go back to the beginning just for a couple, but I'm going to just give me a 2-minute break.
Well, that's all I've got for today. Full VOD available at twitch.tv. And for now, that's me. Trinity out.